let's slow it down a little. On your workshops, if someone, you could call them Kylies Kiss. I'd love to hear a bit about the name.
Yes, Kylies
Kiss. And what do you teach people? Like if someone turns up to one of your workshops, I imagine you've moved online like most people now.
Yeah.
Like, what are you teaching them?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I gave the name Kylies Kiss to my work something like 12 years ago. And now I deeply regret it because, of course, it's like calling for the challenge, calling for the wounding in order to tap into this is a kiss and not a curse. But I feel like I study wounding on an individual and collective level and draw all my confidence in we can regulate and heal from us as physical beings. So what I teach is basically us coming together as a tribe, because we are meant to come together as a tribe, online or offline, and a lot of shaking, a lot of offering my nervous system a language that allows my nervous system, my instinctual brain, my belly brain to unwind from cultural stress. And especially when it comes to shutdown, all those places that I stopped feeling as a girl, as a woman in the society, as a human being nowadays, whatever, all those layers, can we become alive? And it is such a blessing journey, because the more I become alive, I realize, whoa, I'm grateful for life, and life is fucking awesome. Not because it's a beach party on Bali all day long, because it's intense, because I feel it. I will feel my death. What a wonderful kind of death. What a wonderful way of dying, that I can inhale and exhale, being fully present. Like embodiment experiences in themselves pay off when it comes to joy of life. But what we need in order to go there is some kind of encouragement as a tribe and as individual. Take pride in your wounding, take pride in your shadows, take pride in your projections. Like, stop running around with a self-image that everything inside of you is quite okay. Those people who say that everything is quite balanced are the most boring people I can ever meet.
Well, you're certainly not boring, Ilan. You're certainly not that. I've never been bored in your company. Oh.
Mark, you are not boring. Yes, to say that in the camera, not boring.
I'm ADHD as fuck. So if I'm not bored by someone, it normally is a sign they're saying something interesting and novel and I haven't heard a million times before. I always like listening to you, and you can speak for hours deeply on so many subjects. And maybe we'll get back in a month or so. And we still got a little time here. Looking at your YouTube channel here. So I've been taking notes while I've been speaking. By the way, if people watching videos see me on my phone, I'm taking notes. I'm not. In case
you become nervous because
nowadays I'm talking to a German prostitute. What should I say? There's a video here, how to become a better lover. Why don't we lighten it up a little bit? As we come towards the end, we come out of the depths of the how to become a better lover. That's 7.46 minutes. I will text that to my wife now. And I don't need it, obviously. I'm fine, Ilan. I'm fine. So what? Give us the gist then. Tell us about that video, how to be a better lover. And there's another one here, how to deal with social distancing. So I think both of those will be interesting to a lot of people right now.
Yeah, let's talk about the lover video, because what I love so much is turning our narratives around. Like when I'm about how do I become a better lover, it's about, oh, what can I do better for you? But the truth is, when we come from an embodiment and energy perspective, and not a perspective of technique and doing, but of being, then when I touch you with the frequency of relaxation, trust, and intimacy, or stress and unsettledness in my nervous system. So this is so interesting, for example, for men who learned that whenever they become somehow like authentic in bed, that they are a potential killer. What a threat in their own nervous system.
Authentic man. As soon as I hear the word authentic around someone, any man who says an authentic lover, do you not just want to run a mile?
Maybe, but that wasn't what I was referring to.
Sorry, Ilan. Sorry, I misunderstood.
It's just being being somehow breathing into my own belly brain and trusting my own energy and perception. When I never learned to do that because I get hypnotized by the technique, I touch my partner with a lot of stress in my nervous system. And since there is another mammal touched, this nervous system, in this case from a woman, might get some impression that something is off, or that women are fragile. And I think at the end of the day, this doesn't pay off. So how about that I become a better lover by relaxing more into a depth of trust in myself being good? And I think the biggest needle mover, I do not know if this is manageable, but the biggest needle mover for individual and collective sexual healing for men and women would be that there is a path for men overcoming and healing their sexual self-mistrust.
So slow it down. My brain's slow today and you're quick. Also for the foreign language speakers, moving the needle means having an impact, just to be clear, as a metaphor, right?
Impact, the biggest big leap around collective and individual sexual healing for men and women would be that there is a path offered to men overcoming their deep sexual self-hatred and self-mistrust. If men could embody the truth that they are powerful sexually and good sexually, that they are wired for supporting the jungle inside and outside when they are sexually free, if this would be available as a felt sense for men, we would delete sexual violence overnight from the whole planet. And
there's a big connection between men's sex shame and sex violence. Maybe you could make that explicit.
Of course, if men are told that the only thing waiting inside of them is a mess of shadow, of hell, of sexual torture and violation against women, they will never tap into their truth.
Interesting. As a man,
there is a shadow layer in you and in me, etc. But there is something underneath the shadow, and we need a culture cultivating us for embodying the shadow energies until the shadow unwinds, like the brothel that unwinded in front of your eyes. It has been a brothel since 10 years, Mark.
It's just around the corner, hidden from view, just like around the little alley.
The moment you tap into your shadow is the moment the shadow is weaker than ever before. And I never saw men with such a radiant kind of sexual self-love than in a setting that I was leading, but I somehow wasn't listening, but men were sitting in circles telling about their sexual shame, the hardcore porn they are consuming, how they cheat their girlfriend and whatever. They were told to tell about every sexual aspect of their life that they feel ashamed for. Look into each other's eyes, really having some kind of brotherhood around that. And they stood up so radiant, so beautiful. For me as a woman, so amazingly attractive.
Yeah.
Because they owned their shadow, and by that made it turn back into the power and the freedom and the love and the desire and the being wired to provide. When it comes to which sex is more supportive for the partner, definitely the male sexuality. Women are wired so much more around this should be for me about myself. And men are so much more willing to say, hey, I can decide between your orgasm and my orgasm. I prefer your one. I never heard a woman say that. Never.
There's a great comedian called Owen Benjamin, who I think you really like. He's like a lovable Labrador, and he's quite conservative. And he talks about how men just want to serve. We're like, there's that, like, yeah, I'll give you an orgasm, no problem. How do I do it? What do I do? Just tell me what to do. I'll do it. He's a great comedian. I really recommend it.
And women are conditioned to having to please men, but men are genuinely delighted when they please a woman. And for me as a woman, it's like, what's so much fun for you about that? I never heard women so honestly sharing, I light up when you are delighted sexually.
There's a certain swagger if I walk out of a lover's apartment, like, yeah, she couldn't talk at the end of that. She'll be walking funny for a week. High-fiving myself, like, job done. Like, there's a satisfaction in that.
there is something
natural.
that might be twisted on the surface, but there is something of our true design or essence being hidden in those layers of our saying or our macho or whatever behavior. There is something essential that is somehow visible or a felt sense in that, and I'm fascinated by that.
There's something real underneath the macho bravado there, isn't there?
Yeah, and it is reflected.
Service.
It's not that our mask or role plays are only off. The shadow is closer to the truth than we think it is. There is something true and essential reflected in our patterns and structures.
And how do you move from, so I would consider myself pretty sex positive, in that, you know, any consensual, non-harming sex, I think, is a good thing. And people can do what they want to do. That's their business. And I, you know, grew up in a relatively sex positive household, considering the era, you know, kind of, particularly my mom, I think I thank her for kind of what she passed on, you know, around nakedness and sexuality, and was never told it was a shameful thing, but there was still some messages a little bit there, and some messages in society for sure. And as a guy, it's like I can be cognitively like okay with sex and my own sexuality, but there's always this fear of being creepy as a guy, particularly as you get older. As a man, what I experience is you're more likely to be perceived as creepy as you get older.
Yeah,
there's a certain immunity that goes, and a fear that's there of like, how will I be perceived as I got called predatory the other day for making a very, it's a while back actually now, but for making a very polite gesture that the person involved was actually totally okay with. Just to be clear, the girl involved was like, yeah, no problem, this was fine. She's like, actually, I've got a boyfriend, but it's nice to meet you, no problem. She was cool, I was cool, but someone else observed it and used this word predatory, which I really disliked, because I reserved that for people who are, you know, sex offenders or people who rape people or things like that. And I was like, wow, you can just put that on me as a label. And I felt such shame, even as someone that grew up pretty sex positive. So how do we move from the cognitive sex positive to actually the felt sense of it?
I mean, just as always, embody the energy. Embody it. And it's like the next layer of shame that hits you or me around some kind of sexual or asexual behavior is the next Kylies Kiss. It's the next kind of, wow, I thought I would only be sex positive. There is only one guy standing around blaming me and I feel shame. How do I unwind shame as a biological instinct when I do not feel safe? It's embodying. And
you know, I even noticed that in this conversation, Ilan, there was, you know, when I was telling the story about meeting the prostitute smoking, which by the way is an entirely true story, I had a voice in my head saying, what if people don't believe this story and think that you were blah, 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 you know, what if blah, 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 what if, you know, I have had that voice in my head at least 4 times on this call, because I know it's a public thing.
Yeah, so interesting. So it's really the traces of cultural confusion are not outside, they are inside, and they are inside, costing us at the end of the day a deeper and even deeper level of pleasure and embodiment all over. So it's I think welcoming the shame, welcoming the inner voice, because an inner voice is not an inner voice, it's a contraction in my nervous system. What does a nervous system of a mammal do in order to overcome stress? It shakes. So we shake. We shake whenever we feel ashamed. What a great gift. Another fucking opportunity for growth. Yeah.
It's reminded me to do my TRE shaking after my gym workout this morning.
Yeah.
Lots of traumatized doctors at the moment, so I definitely need to do that. Thank you for the reminder. Put that in my calendar so I don't forget. It's funny how I forget that when I need it most. You know, I remember being in a war zone. I was there for a week before I remembered I knew trauma releasing exercises.
Wow.
Hang on a minute, I should be doing this every day.
Because in the first place, it feels dangerous. When we start shaking, we tap into the mammal brain in us that doesn't want to stop shaking. We don't want to start because then we don't want to stop.
Oh, don't mind me keep interrupting you, by the way. It's just for anyone, the feminists listening, I do it to men too, okay? Not just to women. So I find with the trauma shaking, it actually, if I shake through the trauma, it becomes a sort of writhing pleasure activity.
Yeah.
And I think there's something in that once the trauma gets shaken off, underneath is, and I really enjoy TRE now. I find it really like this liquid, pleasurable, you know, once I get past that initial shake, which isn't always so fun. So for me, that seems almost symbolic of a lot of the things you're saying.
The first wave is the hardest one, because we come from a shutdown culture that pretends, or that gives us a solution. Everything is all right. And when we tap into this is a shutdown instead of reality, we tap into the not so sexy, not so pleasurable layers that we tended to by not shaking. So the first layers of shaking are always, what I say in my seminars over and over again is, you shake when you want to do it the least. Don't wait for motivation. Motivation is around here just bullshit. You will keep shaking the moment you forced yourself. But there is this kind of confusion. Oh, my self-love means I'm not shaking because I'm not so into that.
Motivation is bullshit. Say it in German. Say it in German. Shout it in German. It's just my kink.
What?
Shout it in German. Motivation is bullshit.
Motivation is bullshit.
I get Daniela to shout at me in German sometimes. It motivates me. You know our Daniela, who we work with.
Motivation is bullshit, and motivation is bullshit, so it's fair. It's bullshit for everybody.
Oh, you did the genders there? You go for gender neutral. You've got that in German, haven't you?
No. This is not about gender. This is about nationalities.
Okay, we're doing nationality.
40 minutes ago, you tried to save the UK statistics around sex work from the German one.
I suspect they are a little different, though I suspect if we had your legalities, it would be the same. So I don't think, just to be clear, I'm not claiming
you were just repeating the game, Mark. I will get you.
You already got me. You already got me.
Okay.
Listen, Ilan, this is a delight as ever, but we need to wrap up. People can see you at the Embodiment Conference that you're going to be deeply involved with. You're sponsoring the Embodiment Conference, so you're going to be deeply involved in that. I'm
so excited about what you created there. I was
so happy when you stepped up to sponsor it, because I was worried we'd have this sponsor that I didn't believe in, or that I didn't want to. Oh God, I'm going to have to prostitute myself. I'm going to have to take someone's money, and and then Rob says, "Oh, this person, this is what I do." And I met you. I was like, "This person's wonderful. I really want this person to sponsor."
I'm honored and happy and excited.
And where can people find out more about you and your work? What have you got going on? Give yourself a plug. Don't be shy. Be American.
Let's say English. So Ilan Stephani on Facebook, on YouTube, and Kylies Kiss. Just Kylies Kiss. If you Google that, you will find my existence over there.
Kylies Kiss on YouTube, on Facebook, and also on the main website, which has got different online events and things. And yeah, this has been a total pleasure. So to finish, a closing message about the body, short and sweet. Give us a Kylies Kiss on the cheek to say goodbye.
Shake it till you make it.
Nice. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.